Hello, boys and girls. I hope you've brushed your teeth, you've washed your face, and you're ready for your story. Tonight's story is going to be The Hurricane. When we last left off, Andrex and little Ted had survived the flood, and now they were sitting on the couch, and then they heard the TV. Breaking news, it said. Hurricane Doggy is coming to Doggyville. Oh no, said Andrex and little Ted together. Oh no, said everyone in the town who was watching their TVs. And all of the doggy puppies and all of the human babies opened their mouths, and the first word that they said was not Dada or Mama. It was oh no. So everybody began preparing for the hurricane. Andrex got out some hammers, some nails, and some bits of wood. And he hammered, and he nailed, and he used all of his bits of wood. And soon enough he had nailed wood across every single window, just to be safe. And little Ted decided that they should probably go shelter in the basement. So he got all of their non-perishable food, all of their cans, their games console, a Rubik's Cube, and an odd bit of fluff, and carried it all down into the hurricane shelter, aka the basement. Then he went back up, and huffing and puffing, he brought down both of their beds and took them down into the temporary hurricane shelter. Then Andrex and little Ted decided they were ready. So they went down into the hurricane shelter, and then suddenly a gust of wind blew the door shut. Snap! They were trapped. Oh no, said little Ted. Well, at least we have all of our stuff that we need to survive the hurricane, said Andrex. Woof woof! You're right, said little Ted. Grrr. So they sat and waited and waited. Meanwhile, outside, everyone was in their storm shelters, except for the dumb policeman and the person from the pet trick shop. The policeman didn't think that there was going to be a hurricane. Hurricane? Bah, he said. It was at that very moment that the hurricane sweat came in, and it blew the policeman's moustache clean off. The policeman looked very angry about something, and it was probably the fact that his moustache was gone. He took special pride in said moustache, and he was in dismay to see it gone. So he rushed to the police station and bolted the doors. Of course, the hurricane then blew the doors off their hinges. Meanwhile, Andrex and little Ted, completely oblivious to the chaos above, were playing Terraria. Andrex decided that he would experiment with Journey mode in the new 1.4 update, whereas little Ted, who fancied more of a challenge, went for Master mode, where everything was 10 billion times harder. So they were having fun when suddenly they heard a crash. What was that? Said little Ted. I don't know, said Andrex. What the crash was a big tree falling on their house, and it had squashed it to bits. Or at least it would have if it wasn't for the fact that the roof blocked its way. So the house wasn't dead yet. Little Ted and Andrex decided that they should probably do something else besides play Terraria, otherwise they would burn their eyes out, metaphorically. "Why don't we have a snack?" said little Ted. "That's a good idea," said Andrex. "Woof woof! Grrr, grrr." So they went to the larder and they got out some snacks. Andrex had a pepperami. Actually, he had 2 pepperamis, and he also had a custard cream. Little Ted had a chocolate dairy milk bar and a nectarine. "Why a nectarine?" said Andrex. "I like nectarines," said little Ted. "Woof woof! Grrr, grrr." So, after they had eaten their snacks, Andrex and little Ted felt very tired. So Andrex said, "Why don't we go to sleep for a bit?" "Woof woof!" "That is a good idea," said little Ted, and he yawned. So they went to their beds, they got under the covers, and then they went to sleep. Meanwhile, outside, every single tree had fallen on a house, and all of them were squashed to pieces, including the policeman's station, which was so flattened that it created a crater because an extremely large tree had fallen on it and they had driven it into the ground. Now the dumb policeman, who thought Andrex and little Ted were prank calling him during the yard sale story, decided that he should probably get out. So he got into his police car and he turned on the engine and he turned on the sirens and he drove off with the sirens still going. Wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo. So he drove down the hill and he decided that he should probably try and catch a boat. But when he couldn't catch a boat because there was a hurricane and all the boats were cancelled, he stole Andrex and little Ted's boats, which was rather strange. A policeman stealing. So the policeman stole the boat that Andrex and little Ted had made and attempted to run away. But the hurricane swept him right back onto the shore because the wind was blowing into the land. So the policeman jumped about and got very hot and angry. Beneath his policeman mask, the weasel snorted and was very, very, very chuffed off. Because the policeman was not a policeman. He was actually a weasel. He was the weasel who had helped his friend steal all the money from the bank. So he tried to get off again, but then there was a huge wind, and it blew the boat all the way over the top of Doggyville and right into Andrex and little Ted's house. Crash! Bang! The house imploded, and until all that was left was a pile of rubble, some sails, some branches, and a very angry weasel policeman. Beneath the house in their hurricane shelter, Andrex and little Ted heard the bang. "What was that?" said little Ted. "I don't know," said Andrex. "Why don't we go up and investigate?" So when they went up, they saw a very angry weasel who had taken off his police mask and was hopping around the house saying, "Look what you've done, Wind! You've ruined my boat! How am I going to get off this island?" Andrex looked at the weasel and gaped until his instincts kicked in, and with a and with a large bark, woof, woof, he bit the policeman weasel's leg and tore his costume clean off. It ripped like a bag of noodles, and the weasel was left for all to see. "Drat!" said the weasel. And because he didn't have his policeman costume to weigh him down, the wind picked him up and threw him into the sea, and he was never seen again. Finally, the storm began to clear up, and everybody's houses were trashed, utterly destroyed. So they all got out their phones once again and called their insurance companies. This time, Andrex and little Ted remembered to get insurance, so they did the same, and soon the insurance lady came. My, what happened here?" she said in her obnoxious voice. "There was a hurricane," said little Ted. "Yeah, a hurricane," said Andrex. "Woof, woof." The lady said, "Well, that's going to be $1,000,000 doggy bucks, please." Andrex said, "For what?" And then the lady said, "For VAT." Andrex had no idea what VAT was, but he didn't like the sound of it. So with a loud bark, "Hey, hey!" he jumped on the obnoxious insurance lady and sent her running away. So Andrex and little Ted decided that in future they would just fix their house themselves. So that's what they did. Okay, boys and girls, that was the end of the story. I'm sorry if it was a really long one, and I shall see you next time. Bye!